Greetings, Bannermen, and welcome to another exciting battle report. This battle report comes from the Rogue State Gaming Tournament. Today we have Gregor Clegane facing against Victarion Greyjoy in this exciting battle. The game mode is Here We Stand, which splits the game board into 4 separate quadrants that can score additional points based on the unit values in those zones. NCUs can also add their point total to those zones to help turn the tide in your favor. Gregor Clegane leads from the front in a unit of Mountainmen. Gregor has some interesting abilities. For instance, he has Indomitable, meaning that his unit cannot become weakened. He also includes the Mountain Strength, which adds 2 wounds on every attack and grants the unit Sundering. The Mountain's men are no joke themselves. They have Vicious, they gain additional 1 to hit and Critical Blow when attacking enemies with the same or fewer remaining ranks. Critical Blow is one of those few force multipliers, and with Gregor wanting to cleave through his opponents with his mighty 2-handed broadsword, it's going to do good work for him. His cards that he brings along to the battlefield are Assault Orders, which allow you to replace a zone with a friendly NCU, allowing a friendly unit to make an attack action, or allowing 1 friendly House Clegane unit to make 1 charge action instead. Gregor also brings along Price of Failure. Basically what that means is, when you charge or make an attack, you count as automatically hitting every single attack roll. If the enemy unit is not destroyed, you become panicked and vulnerable. With Gregor at the helm, though, it's unlikely that something's going to survive that attack. Gregor also provides Overrun, which means that when a friendly unit would search for it, they may instead make a free charge or march action. If it targets Clegane's unit or a House Clegane unit, they get to reroll any charge distance dice. Following Clegane's unit, we have the Knights of Castle Rock, a Lance Cavalry unit that when charging can throw 10 dice on 3s with Sundering. They're fairly tanky, and if you attack them, you might get punished yourself with Lannister Supremacy. Lannister Supremacy is a defensive move. When an enemy attacks you, after the attack is completed, you may throw a panic test back at them. If they didn't do enough wounds to you, you might take -2 to your roll and 2 additional wounds for the pleasure of attacking them. Following this, we have Lannister Crossbowmen, a good all-around ranged unit in the Lannister faction. They have Sundering. When they're shooting short range, you get to reroll attack dice. Pretty sweet stuff. Finally, we have Stormcrow Mercenaries and Tyrion Lannister. Stormcrow Mercenaries have Adaptive, and Tyrion Lannister fits nicely into that. Tyrion has some great orders. Battle Plan, start of any turn, I can discard 2 tactics cards from my hand and search my tactics deck for 1 card and put it into my hand. It really helps build what you're looking for in the game. Also, I have Counter Strategy. When an enemy in short range uses an order or is targeted by a tactics card, I can roll a die. On a 3+, cancel the effect of that order's or tactics card. Imagine, counterplot for 5 rounds. Unlikely the first round because you're not going to be within short range, but afterwards, possible. The NCU suite is Qyburn. Qyburn has been changed in his previous iteration, and now he has a ability that when an enemy NCU were to activate, you can target 2 zones. If the NCU claims either of those zones this turn, after resolving that zone's effect, 2 enemy units become vulnerable. Following Qyburn, we have everybody's favorite, Tywin Lannister. Tywin Lannister, aka the Nuke, has a once per game ability. That ability lets you take 5 different options. They can all target the same unit, or you can split them up. So, 1 enemy becomes panicked, 1 enemy becomes vulnerable, 1 of those enemies suffers 4 hits, 1 enemy suffers 1 panic test, and then 1 enemy loses all abilities until the end of the round. You can spread the wealth and give it to different units, or you can dump everything on 1 unit to make sure you get that kill. Following Tywin, we have Shae. Shae begins the game with 3 order tokens on her. Each time she activates, you remove 1 order token from her. If she ever has no order tokens, she is removed from the game. When she claims a zone, she can take 1 of 3 effects. Put 2 order tokens on her, 1 enemy unit becomes weakened, or restore 1 wound to 1 friendly unit. Following Shae, we have a Turncoat, which is an enemy attachment. The Turncoat has a neat ability where once per game, at the start of any turn, I may deal this unit 1 wound, and if I do, they replace 1 condition token on the unit, and it may not use orders or be the target of friendly tactics cards this turn. Now, that 1 wound has to remove this model, and it's great when you combine a Turncoat, Tywin Lannister the Nuke, and if you combine it with units like Knights of Castle Rock or Gregor Clegane in the Mountain's Men, you have about a 95% chance of deleting the enemy unit. Leading the Greyjoy army is Victarion Greyjoy in a unit of Silence Men. Victarion Greyjoy brings Overrun onto his unit, Furious Charge, which basically means that when he successfully charges an enemy unit, they become vulnerable, and Vicious. The Silence Men bring Sundering, and if you have 2 Pillage tokens, you get Super Sundering. Enemies hit by Super Sundering take a -2 to defense rolls. They also have Dauntless, which means every time they pass a morale test, they restore a wound, and if they have 2 Pillage tokens, enemies in short range suffer -1 to morale test rolls. Now remember, the Raiders of the Iron Islands Pillage token mechanic gives per pillage token an additional effect. Their first pillage token gives +1 to morale, and the second gives +1 attack die. So a fully stacked 2 pillage token Silence Men will have 8 dice with Vicious, with Super Sundering, and Silenceman Infamy for a total of -2, -3 when attacking from the front. Victarion also brings Rush of Aggression, which basically, when played, allows a unit to charge with an automatic 6 on the roll. The unit gets crit blow, and after the attack has been, the attacker is not Victarion Greyjoy, they become vulnerable. Victarion also brings Sustained Assault, which basically means when you attack while engaged, you get to throw your highest attack dice value, and if you're Victarion, you get to reroll the attack dice. Victarion also brings Assault Orders, which, the same as Gregor, allows you to charge when replacing the zone. However, only Victarion Greyjoy's unit may charge. Anybody else gets to make an attack action. With the base deck, including We Do Not Sow, you potentially have 4 attacks out of activation with Victarion Greyjoy as your commander. Scary stuff. Supporting Victarion is Dagmar Cleftjaw with the new Battle Scars in Black Die Chosen. Battle Scars allows you, when you make a melee attack before rolling attack dice, you get to choose one for each of this unit's destroyed rank. You get Vicious, you may reroll any attack dice, or you get to roll your highest attack die value. Black Die Chosen are a great support piece, with Divide the Spoils letting you spread around pillage tokens, and First Claim letting you get pillage tokens when you claim the bags. They also have the 2 pillage token effect, which give them +1 to morale test rolls and suffer an additional -1 wound from failing panic test to all friendly units in short range. This stacks with the Raiders of the Iron Island, so a fully stacked Black Die Chosen will have 4 morale. Supporting them is Asha Greyjoy, her second version, with Sentinel and Gang Up in a unit of House Harlow Reapers. The Reapers provide Vicious, Prey and Fear, and Reaper's Fervor, which means that every time this unit performs a melee attack before rolling attack dice, if this unit has 2 pillage tokens, the defender becomes panicked, and if they fail the panic test from this attack, they suffer an additional wound. Sentinel is a very dangerous ability, and you have to take care to play around it. With Gang Up, if you attack a unit and don't kill it, you can potentially be taking a 9 dice attack from the side. Following the Reapers, we have Ironborn Bowmen with Euron Greyjoy. Euron's great with the Bowmen as he gives them 2 pillage tokens out of the gate. Combine this with Divide the Spoils, you can be spread around on pillage tokens, getting your units ready to fight before they even engage. However, he comes with a poison gift. Every time this unit performs an action, before resolving that action, it suffers a wound. Also, Strange Relics, which is an order for Euron, lets you, at the start of the unit's activation, take an additional wound, target one enemy in long range, and they get a condition token. I mentioned the Ironborn Bowmen have Divide the Spoils. They also have Ironborn Arrows, which lets you reroll attack dice when attacking enemies in the flank or the rear. Rich's NCU suite are Aaron Greyjoy, which is an influence card. When influencing a unit, they may restore a wound before performing an action. Each time it destroys an enemy rank with a melee attack, that unit restores 1 wound. Balon Greyjoy is the workhorse of the Greyjoy faction. Once per game, Balon may activate, but instead of claiming a zone, he may instead bring back a previously destroyed House Greyjoy unit fully within long range of a friendly deployment zone, or short range of any flank table edge. That unit retains their pillage tokens. If that unit was destroyed, not activated, it gets to redeploy unactivated. Otherwise, it comes inactivated. Roderick Harlaw is Rich's final NCU. Roderick helps you build the hand you need to punch through the enemy lines. He has 2 order tokens. At the start of any turn, you may remove 1 order token from Roderick. If you do, place any number of tactics cards from your hand to the side, then draw 1 plus that many cards. Shuffle the ones you put to the side back into your tactics deck. Rich and Jan both roll off, and Jan wins the roll off for terrain placement. Jan starts the game off by putting down a bog. The bog is a great choice because it slows down enemy units. Greyjoys are fast little bastards, so anything to cripple their speed is a good thing. Rich follows up by putting a werewood tree down. Werewood trees provide an additional morale bonus, and against Lannisters, That's pretty strong, because Lannisters like to shit out panic tests like it's no tomorrow. Jan puts down a bog, again, to slow them down on the other side of the board. Rich is seen digging through the terrain and goes with another werewood tree. He's really trying to stack the morale options in his favor. Rich and Jan both roll off for turn order or deployment. Jan wins the roll and goes for turn order. Rich decides to go for deployment, stays with his zone, but makes Jan deploy first. Here we see Jan setting up the board with the corner holder as the perfect center. Jan starts off by deploying his unit of Lannister crossbowmen in the center. It's always a fun idea to deploy a ranged unit in the center because they can threaten the majority of the board from there. A strained range attack can wipe a full rank off of a unit off of something so simple as taking the sword zone. Rich can be seen here putting Victarion in the center of the board with his silence men. Jan responds by putting his unit of Stormcrow mercenaries with Tyrion next to the Lannister crossbowmen. Jan likes to play one side of the board so that funny things can't sweep around the left side and get him from the flank, barring Balon's redeploy. Here we see Rich deploying Euron in a unit of Ironborn bowmen, directly opposite of the Stormcrow mercenaries. Jan grabs Gregor and sticks him next to the Stormcrow mercenaries. Those Ironborn bowmen look like a juicy target. With bad morale and bad armor saves, Gregor is going to cleave right through them, barring a Greyjoy card such as What is Dead May Never Die. Rich is contemplating. He's thinking about what he wants to do here. He's using his big brain. He's grabbed his Asha tray with Harlow Reapers and puts them on Victarion's left-hand side. Bit of an odd placement, being so far away from the battle, but not too far away. Remember, Asha has Sentinel and can just fly across the board if you attack any of his friendly units within long range. Jan deploys his unit of Knights of Castle Rock on the edge of the board. Rich responds by putting his Black Tide Chosen opposite of Gregor and the Knights of Castle Rock. Remember, I want to keep away from Sentinel, so Sentinel being on the opposite of the board is a good thing for me. Jan starts the game by putting Shay on the letters, putting 2 tokens onto Shay, and putting a weakened token based off the zone. Rich responds by taking Aemon, putting him on the horses, influencing his bowmen so that they don't take a damage after completing the action, and moving Victarion up to threaten the center of the board. Remember, silence men are speed 6, so they're pretty scary. Jan responds by activating Qyburn and taking the bags, replacing the zone by putting Bribery down on Victarion's unit. Bribery makes it so that the unit throws the lowest possible attack dice value. Rich takes Roderick, puts him on the crowns, and attempts to zap somebody. However, the zap is unsuccessful. Jan, seeing a activation potential advantage, takes Tywin and puts him on the swords. The rest of round 1 is purely positioning. Jan is trying to avoid Euron and the Ironborn Bowmen from raining down hell on any of his units. Mountains men, Stormcrow mercenaries, and the crossbowmen are not the hardiest of soldiers. The arrows would do a ton of damage. Any damage that can be avoided in this round is a good thing. During round 2, Rich activates Roderick and takes the bags, removing the bribery effect that Jan had previously stuck on Victarion. This is a smart move, and bribery is fairly devastating. Jan takes Shay, puts her on the letters, and spends 1 order token to put out another additional weakened token onto both units. Rich follows up with Aemon, puts him on the horses, influences the Ironborn Bowmen, and moves up Victarion slightly to stay in the center of the board and threaten the other units. When you're in the center of the board, you can choose which zone you are in during the time of scoring. Jan activates Qyburn and takes the crown. Unfortunately, the zap does Bubkiss. That happens. A stray crown zap usually does nothing. Rich activates Balon and takes the swords, passing the zone and moving on with his life. Jan activates his crossbowmen and positions them slightly to threaten Asha in her reapers. Rich activates his bowmen and does nothing. Jan activates his Stormcrow mercenaries, shifts them forward slightly, and then does nothing. Rich activates his Black Tide Chosen, wiggles him around a little bit, and then ultimately does nothing. Jan responds by activating his Knights of Castle Rock and throwing them across the board. Remember, Jan is first player next round, so this is a very threatening play. Rich doesn't even know what Jan has in his hands. With Price of Failure, that could be a 10 dice attack in the side arc for nothing. Rich positions Victarion slightly, trying to find that secret sweet spot to be in between two zones so that he has the ultimate choice during time of scoring. Jan activates Gregor and marches them forward to threaten the Black Tide Chosen. Remember, once again, Jan is the first player at the start of the next round. Gregor, as we discussed earlier, is an absolute monster and a freak. Cleaving through those Black Tide Chosen with Tywin supporting him is not going to be a big issue. Rich activates his Reapers and moves them forward to provide that web of Sentinel to cover the board. Jan activates Tywin and grabs the far corner of the board. Remember, NCUs can claim quadrants to add their point value for scoring purposes. Here, Jan uses the Tywin nuke to absolutely obliterate the Black Tide Chosen. Then, he charges in with Gregor Clegane, spending a vulnerable token and making Rich re-roll his dice. It is important to note that Jan had used Tyrion earlier in the previous round to get Counterplot out, so when Rich tried to use Sentinel and play Rush of Aggression, Jan used Counterplot, turning the dice roll into a 50-50, which Rich failed. Rich activates Aemon, takes the horses, and retreats with his bowmen. Here he made a mistake. He should have taken one wound for doing the action, so Euron should be at 1 health. Not that that will make a massive difference. Also, in the previous action, Gregor had used assault orders off of Shay and the Crowns. Jan activates Gregor and rushes in to finish off Euron, netting him an additional victory point. Jan then surges, moves Gregor out of line of sight of Victarion and Asha, so that he does not get charged on the swing back. It's looking pretty good for Jan right now. Jan pivots to face Victarion. Who knows, he might have an assault orders in his hands and decide to dunk on Victarion. On Rich's turn, he activates Victarion and pivots him to face Gregor. Victarion might have assault orders and might charge Gregor. This is really a battle of the brutes. On Jan's turn, he takes Qyburn and takes the letters, drawing 2 cards and putting an additional weaken token out on Asha's unit. Balon was used and brought back the Black Tide Chosen. We just skipped into the bad editing. And then Jan responds by activating the Knights of Castle Rock and charging the Black Tide Chosen. Jan positions the Knights of Castle Rock to be as far away as possible from Asha so that he does not get attacked. The board state is looking pretty rough for Rich right now. The Knights of Castle Rock are slamming their lances down the throat of the Black Tide Chosen. Gregor had just chopped through 2 units. Victarion is activated, and Asha is facing nobody in no man's land. Tyrion is a great piece, and normally with Stormcrow mercenaries, I feel dirty bringing them, as if my faction isn't performing well enough, but I think to bring along Tyrion, it's absolutely worth it. The counter strategy, the battle plan, they make for a great tool to use to really build and control the game. Rich activates Asha and marches her forward. So Asha has that weakened token, which means that even though she has, throwing 7 dice on 3s, over the bog, good chance that he's going to miss the majority of the attacks. However, they are in the rear end of the Knights of Castle Rock. With gang up, he's going to be throwing 8 dice, and in the back at -2 with Vicious for another -2, we're going to be saving on a 5-10. That's looking rough. And being able to do that additional damage with the Reaper's ability, that's looking like a dead unit. Here we see Tyrion really shine when he uses counter strategy off of the assault orders from Roderick taking the bags. Tyrion was successful, shunting the play, leaving Gregor to fight another day. Jan ends the round off by activating his crossbowmen and moving them into the last quadrant. At the start of the next round, Rich just goes straight in and charges with Victarion into Gregor's front arc. Remember, Victarion fully stacked, -2, -3 on the attack. Mountainsmen not known for being particularly resilient. Also putting that vulnerable token out, this is looking rough. Jan is currently saving on 6s for the defense roll and 8, 9, 9 on the morale test. So this was a good attack by Rich. Generally, people grab the NCU boards, so maybe an assault orders would have come out. Tyrion could have stopped it, so this was Rich's best strategy. Jan loses 6 guys on the attack after the vulnerable token is spent. 8 dice on the attack, so he blocked 2 of them. He's going to roll the panic dice now. Make or break here. Gregor on 1 rank is not a good place to be, especially when it's your number 1 unit, your most important unit, and guess what? Only takes 1 on the panic test. Jan decides to take Shay and attack Victarion back. Previously, he had measured Sentinel being a 50-50 chance of connecting. Unfortunately, he connected this time. That is 8 dice, 9 dice, sorry, on the attack on 2s. Even though with weaken, it's likely 9 of them are going to go through, and he has not even activated them. So Gregor's looking in really rough shape, especially because of that additional wound from the failed panic test. So Rich does actually end up killing Gregor here. Jan made a big mistake. He should have taken Gregor, and instead of attacking, he should have just run like a banshee out of hell. Maybe that would have kept him in the game, hold the other quadrant, stay alive to fight another day type of deal. This is the first time Jan remembered to use Qyburn the entire game. This is also the first time that Jan was playing Qyburn and using him appropriately. So when Rich claimed the letters with Balon, he puts out 2 vulnerable tokens. It's a little bit too little, too late. Rich follows up by taking Aemon and putting him on the crowns, but then replacing that zone with We Do Not Sow, allowing a free attack into the Knights of Cassia Rock from the Black Tide Chosen. Now, Black Tide Chosen, in theory, are not supposed to hit that hard. They're hitting on 4s, and Knights of Cassia Rock are saving on 3s. But Rich connects real well and ends up taking the Knights of Cassia Rock down to 1 rank. Jan responds by dropping a Lannister supremacy on the Black Tide Chosen, which they do in fact fail. Jan activates the Knights of Cassia Rock, and he really only has 2 options here. He can attack or run away. Jan opts to run away. It's up in the air if this was the best idea. Maybe he could have pushed in on 4 dice, some extra wounds in, but realistically, it wasn't going so well. Rich then attacks and charges in with Asha. She is bribed, however, so she is only throwing her lowest rank. Even on her lowest rank, she's able to push 3 wounds through on a 3-up armor save unit. Jan rolls the panic test, and remember, he is panicked, so he could potentially lose a maximum of 3 guys. That would be a dead unit. It's make or break right now. If the Knights of Cassia Rock survive, Jan's in a great place. If they don't, Jan's not in a great place. Unfortunately, Jan will die here due to the Reaper's fervor off the Reapers, pushing that extra wound through, killing them, netting Rich an additional victory point and 8 units destroyed, and allowing him to surge forth. Jan is pulling defeat from the clutches of victory. Rich activates Asha and moves her up to threaten Tyrion in the Stormcrow Mercenaries. Jan does not want Tyrion and the Stormcrow Mercenaries to come anywhere near Asha's unit. They will tear her apart. However, remember, Jan is first player next round, so there's a good chance that he can maneuver around Asha. But will that be enough for him to win the game? Currently, he stands to score 1 extra point for being in the far right quadrant from the camera. Rich, however, is going to be looking to score possibly 2 points. Jan drops Tywin down on the closer right spot, add 6 unit points to the closer right side of the board. This means Rich will have to play a little bit more carefully to avoid giving Jan any additional points during the scoring phase of this round. Jan starts off by activating Shay and putting her on the horses. Remember I said previously that Jan wants to keep those Stormcrow mercenaries away from Asha? Well, he's doing just that. Does that make good sense? Who knows? You'll find out soon. Rich activates Victarion and moves him towards the center of the board so he can claim either zone and deny Jan extra points. It's a very tight match, and Rich is using every single one of his brain cells to pull out the victory. It's close. Rich needs to score 3 victory points to hit 10, and Jan, I believe, needs to score only 2. Jan activates his Lannister crossbowmen and marches them as far as they possibly can and pivoting to face Victarion. It would have been smarter for him to take the sword zone with one of his NCUs and just unload as many dice as possible into Victarion at range. However, that did not happen, and Rich takes Balon and puts him on the swords and tries to replace the zone with assault orders to attack the crossbowmen. However, Jan had counterplot in hand, stuffing the attempt. However, it was still a good play because now the crossbowmen do not get a free shot into Victarion's side arc and allowing him to have rerolls. Rich then activates his Asha Reapers and marches them forward into that quadrant. It would have probably been smarter for Jan to attack with the Stormcrow mercenaries and try to tie them up, because now Rich is just going to activate Black Tide Chosen and move them to the center of the board. Jan's going to try some NCU magic, but at this point, the 2 points that Jan needed to score aren't happening, and Rich is able to pull out the W. Good job, Rich. Hey guys, Jan here. So, some thoughts about this game. Really, you can't let bloodlust drive your entire desire to just murder everything. Sometimes you got to play smart and play keep away. That would have kept Gregor alive and probably would have swung the game in his favor. Losing him was a major, major loss. Allowing Rich to have a free extra attack with his Reapers on that Sentinel charge wasn't great. Also, he should have, or I should have rather, and I'm talking in first person, should have charged him with those Stormcrow mercenaries to tie up the Reapers, put Tywin in the zone closest to the camera. Then you have the 5 point Stormcrow mercenaries with 6 points. It's 11 versus Asha and Reapers, so it's a 8 point unit. Maybe, but then the Black Tide Chosen are there to help bring it to 7. So it was Jan's game to lose, and boy, did he lose it, or did I lose it? Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this battle report. Please like and subscribe. It really helps us out. We're trying to grow this audience. If you go to the About page of our YouTube channel, you can find our Discord link, and you can join our Discord. Have some conversation with the Brotherhood. Just have a good time. Um, yeah, catch you up next Monday. Thanks for the watch. Bye.